Good evening, good evening. How you guys doing today? It's been a while since I posted a video as far as dealing with sports or even my beloved Seminoles. I've been working on a couple of projects here and there, and you should check some of those videos out about uh, people starting businesses and what it takes to maintain or running a business. Other than that, guys, I've been doing awesome. We're on the tail end of the media day weeks. I think the Pac-12 at this week. So I got a video discussing about conferences. You need to check that out. It'll be up in a little bit, but still on strike. A lot of things. I'm in a better place than I was last year. Been getting ready to gear up to do some heavy hog hunting, coyote hunting, bobcats, different animals like that. I do not deer hunt, but just been kind of enjoying some different things. Currently watching the game. I think that's you. Well, there's no good games on right now, but I think behind me I'm watching USC and UCLA from 2006. So I've been away for a while, guys. Coming back at you with a good one today, and this one is going to be a special teams video about the best kickoff returners and punt returners in Florida State history. And I'm telling you again, I want to give a big shout out to the SID department, and I want to thank them. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. I hope y'all having a wonderful morning, afternoon, or if you're somewhere you're having, get ready to have a good night. So I'm going to get into this, and I'm going to start off with my top 5 kick return specialists. And I'm going to start off with the former president of Florida State, the former, chancellor or dean, or president of Florida State, which would be T.K. Weatherall, and he had a 100-yard kickoff return at Kentucky in 1965 on the ladder, and he had 2 career kickoff returns for touchdowns. My number 4 is going to be Eddie McMillan. If I'm getting that right, I may get that wrong. And he had a 93-yard kickoff at Memphis State in 1987, and he's accredited with 2 kickoff returns for touchdown for his career. And then we're going to move to one of my favorite players. I know this is going to be controversial, but this is just fun. This is my opinion. If you don't like it, comment or tell me, but I got Lavernius Coles tied for number 3, and he also had a 97-yard kickoff return against Duke in 1998 for a touchdown. Along with him, I got Leon Washington, who also had a 97-yard kickoff return versus Clemson in 2002. Those are two of the more notable Seminoles, and anybody knows me knows I like Lavernius Coles just as much as Anquan Bolden or Peter Warwick or Talman Gardner, Atrice Bell. I really was a big Lavernius Coles fan. I thought he came up big in the national championship game against Tennessee when we couldn't get the ball to Warwick. Him and Ron Dugans had a tremendous afternoon and really kept the offense close and in the game. So those are who I have at number 3. Number 2, this is probably a lot of people on their all-time list of Seminoles. This is Tamar Vanover. He had a 94-yard kickoff return at Miami in 1992, and he's accredited for 2 kickoff returns for touchdown in his career. Now, moving to number 1, before I get to number 1, I always tell people I like players that help play for national championships. And I want to say that. I don't mean to disrespect anybody that's ever put on guard and goal, but championships is the first thing we value. Winning, character, championships. Florida State is a place where the elite become champions. So we're always chasing national championships, ACC championships. And so with that being said, the reason why not only do I have Kermit Whitfield, the greatest kickoff returner to date in Florida State history, and he has career kickoff return yardage of 2,386 career yards, which ranks him number 1. And his biggest kickoff return was a 100-yard return against Auburn in the 2014 BCS National Championship game. And he has 2 kickoff returns for his career for touchdowns. Second half, obviously late in the first quarter, Jimbo goes for it on fourth down. Really, Auburn was outplaying us. I think Florida State, kind of how they were in 2014, just showed up. Not saying they didn't care because this is the national championship game, but I think they just had a sense of we're Florida State and whatever. And Auburn outplayed them in the first half. And I really think if you go back and watch the game, if because Florida State kicked the ball off, they got to stop. Really, Nick Marshall missed a wide open wide receiver on third down. Florida State went to work pretty quick with Devontae Freeman, hitting some different wide receivers, driving down the field, but Auburn holds them to a field goal. And I think that turned the momentum for them and allowed them to seize the momentum and go up. So late in the first half, Jimbo Fisher fakes the punt, gets points, kind of gets the momentum back, and then in the second half, kind of goes back and forth. Auburn gets a score, and they kick off to Kermit Whitfield. He goes 100 yards untouched in the biggest moment and the biggest stage of his life and the biggest stage for Florida State at the time, being that Florida State played in the first 3 BCS national championship games to play in the last one versus an SEC school. Everything on the line, the legacy, Auburn feeling like a team of destiny. And at that moment, I would consider that probably one of the top 10 kickoff returns for touchdowns in college football history. But that was a huge moment, and he capitalized that. So he's my top kickoff returner of all time. Now moving on to punt returners. I'm going to start off with number 5, and I got Greg Reed. And he had 3 career punt returns for touchdowns. His best one was 83 yards versus Miami in 2011, and that was for a touchdown. Greg Reed was a tremendous player, tremendous athlete. I hate things didn't go the way they should, but of course we've seen that before. Randy Moss, Rock Preston, maybe a couple, even Lavernius Cole. Sometimes mistakes happen, and things have to go on, but he's still in our heart. He'll always be a Seminole. Now, moving on to number 4, the Fula from Pascagoula. And if you don't know who that is a former consensus All-American Thorpe Award winner, and he is accredited for 3 career punt returns for touchdowns. And I'm going to move on to number 3, and that's Joe. I'm sorry, I don't know his last name. I apologize. But he has 3 career punt returns for touchdowns, and he had 3 of them in one season. I had his last name, but it's on the tip of my tongue, and I just forgot, a little brain freeze there. But he was a tremendous athlete in the early days, really kind of one of those guys that can get it done. Anytime you have 3 punt returns in one season, that's pretty special. And then my number 2, I know people may not like this, but the number 2 punt returner in FSU history is Deion Primetime Sanders, Neon Deion. And he's accredited with 3 career punt returns for touchdowns, as well as one of the longest interceptions in NCAA history. And he had a 76-yarder at Clemson in 1988 for a touchdown. And then I got a tie for number 1. Now, when I get into these right here, you have to understand in the moment what was at stake, what was on the line. I got Willie Reed tied for number 1 with 3 career punt returns for a touchdown. He had an 87-yard punt return against Penn State in the 2006 Orange Bowl. An 83-yard punt return versus Virginia Tech in the ACC Championship in 2005. Now, I want to mind you, I've already covered this in other videos, but in the 2000s, you can honestly look from the moment you lost Mark Richt till you got Jimbo Fisher, you can look at consistently how maybe quarterback play went down. Those teams were probably the more talented teams. I would say 03, 04 were probably just as talented as 97, 98, 94, 1996, and even 2000. 2000, just because they didn't win, that team was deep and that team was loaded. But Florida State underperformed, but they won enough games to get into the first ever ACC championship. Heavily not favored. They were the underdog. And they were actually, I think, probably 12, 14-point dog. Nobody gave them a chance. Bobby Bowden, Mickey Andrews, Jeff Bowden, and that coaching staff motivated those players, came up with a game plan. And Florida State pretty much beat the brakes off them. I want to say they may have got a couple of late touchdowns to make it look respectable, but Florida State took it to them. And one of the big reasons they did was because Willie Reed had a monster punt return. It's just like the Red Sea party. He made one cut. I don't even think he got touched. If I'm not mistaken, if I can remember, I don't think he got touched. I think he made one cut on the kicker and just outran everybody. On the punter, I'm sorry. But that was a pivotal moment for us because we won the first ACC championship game. We are the ACC. We haven't been in a couple of years, Clemson on top of us, but we are the ACC. The ACC is not even a conference. I don't care about the ACC. We win the conference, we win national championship. That's the expectation, and that's the standard. But in this game, to be an underdog like they were, Ernie Sims, I mean, I can name so many guys on the team, the type of fight, the type of heart that they showed that day and showed what Florida State was all about, and Willie Reed was a part of it. Now, to go against the ACC championship, like in 2015 when we couldn't score in the second half against Clemson, we didn't score against Georgia Tech in the second half. We did not do a lot in the Orange Bowl. And actually, Willie Reed was the Orange Bowl MVP, but it went to, I forget how many overtime, but we couldn't score. And it hurt us because we were the better team. And it really bothered me because Penn State actually finished number 2 that year in the poll. And I think we were probably 8 points better than them. Good game, but if we could have got one more touchdown, we would have won that game. So that's why I have Willie Reed tied at number 1. Now, coming in at the top of my list, he needs no introduction. Peter Warrick, and actually he's accredited with 2 punt returns. But in our record book, we count Chris Winke's third loss, which would be to Oklahoma. Because he only had 1 loss his sophomore year, no losses his junior year, and 2 losses his senior year. But if you can do that, because at one time they didn't count bowl game and regular season stats together. But because we give Chris Winke 3 losses, then I'm going to make sure I give Peter Warrick his due. And I'm going to count 3 career punt return touchdowns. And his first one was in 1997, his breakout game against Clemson, where he went for 90 yards. And then he had another one in 1999 against North Carolina for 75 yards. And this punt return, after he already went over the top, Nick Sorensen, you knew you didn't have a shot to catch him. You had Dugans hit a touchdown, and then Tommy Polley blocked the punt. Jeff Chaney scoop and score. Florida State at that time went for the juggler. And they put the knockout punch, but obviously we know Virginia Tech came back. But honestly, the game really was over. I think Florida State probably could have beat them by 80. And like Musburger said, either Musburger or the other guy, if Michael Vick doesn't play, they're not in the game, and they're not in the game. They wouldn't have made it, and that game probably would have been 80-0. But at the moment, because what he did, and really, you can also look at the punt return against Tennessee, which I still think people underrate. But if you go back and watch it, go to YouTube and look it up, go to Google. Peter Warrick literally makes 2 or 3 guys, as soon as he catches the ball, just like they disappear. And I'm not going to say no names because of the missed block against the punter, but he should have scored on that one too. But that's, to me, is one of the best plays I think I ever saw him make. And he didn't score. It's like as soon as he catches the ball, he just makes 3 guys just look like they just all in slow motion, like they're not even there. But to get back on subject, punt, takes it on the hop. I don't think he gets touched till he hits the end zone, and kind of solidified how focused he was because of the bad outing they had and not having Chris Winke against Tennessee. him and Chris Winkie made it a point, because a lot of people tend to forget Florida State only ever finished undefeated 2 times. And that means we've had undefeated seasons, but we either lost to Miami, or we lost to Florida, or we lost in the bowl game. So to complete that, that was the first time Bobby Bowden held out a flame in his office for his first ever undefeated season. And Chris Winkie and Peter Warrick and that team was on a mission that night. And Peter Warrick had 2 touchdowns, and he had, I think, a 2-point conversion. No, he had 3 touchdowns. I'm sorry, 3 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. So he had a punt return, he had a pass, and then he had the home run pass on the end, the deep pass, other deep pass. So he had 3 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. And this is one of those moments where you just have a player that's playing at another level. And again, like I say, he catches this punt on a hop, and he does the rest. I mean, he makes one cut. He didn't have to do no shake and bake. He catches this punt, he makes one cut to the right, and then Malcolm Tatum delivers a vicious, vicious block, and then it opens up that alley, and he's gone. He's gone. Go back and look at it. I got to give a shout out to Malcolm Tatum, because he opened up an alley on that hit. That's one of those what we call an ear hole hit, where you have to get up and check to make sure your cleats are still on. But this is just my list. If y'all know anybody that should have been on here, or think somebody's higher, let me know. We can go. I love the conversation, go back and forth. But this is my top kickoff returners and top punt returners in Florida State history. Again, I always like to say between kickers, punters, and all 22 on offense and defense, because you got 11 players on the field at that time. Florida State has been blessed to have great players at every position. Special teams, offense, and defense. We had great players, great athletes, great talent, as well as great coaching. So y'all have a good day. I'll see y'all later, and I will have another video come up soon. I've been away for a minute, but I'm back. Y'all enjoy yourselves. Stay safe. Go Noles.